converted man here. What do I think about this guy? The whatever. This guy. Let's just do it.
Yes. I mean, what I'll say about atheists is obviously I think they're human persons made in the image and likeness of God who deserve to be loved, who deserve to be tolerated. Not tolerated, actually. That's not enough. To be loved, that we should will their good and see them as children of God, even if they don't believe that they're children of God. So
it's too bad that God doesn't feel the same way. We're just going to go to hell, right? So I guess God doesn't love us because we didn't believe in him. Yeah. Oh, well.
That's what I think about atheists. What do I think about atheism? I think it's wrong. I think God does exist. I think God...
Which God? Well, your God, obviously. I mean, you're Catholic, right? So you believe in the Judeo-Christian concept of God. Well, broadly speaking, because I don't really know exactly what the Catholics believe in addition to what Protestants believe, because Protestant Catholicism split ways, and so there's now different beliefs. So you guys have the Pope and the one true church and all that stuff, and you also have the saints and that you can pray to them and all that. But I don't know how much of that's needed to believe to be saved. In fact, I guess I would ask, what is it that you think has to be done to be saved? Because that's a good question to ask believers, given that no believer will have the same answer. I think that that's really important to note. If you guys are saying this is the one true church, yeah, you can go to Protestant churches, but it's not that you're not going to get saved if you go to a Protestant church rather than a Catholic church. It's just that the Catholic church is the real true church that has, the absolute real understanding. So I don't know. I mean, I'd like to hear the explanation for why the Catholic Church is the one to go to rather than the Protestant Church. Like what makes you guys that much more true than them or whatever. But anyway, so your concept of God might be slightly different than the average Protestant version of God, even though, of course, you're both going to use the word God to describe it, to talk about it. You actually are talking about very different concepts of God. So that to me is an issue. I don't know what God version you personally believe in. So when you say, yes, there's a God, I go, well, which one? I mean, what are you talking about? There's any number of versions of God out there, and why do you think yours is the actual God? Or are you more flexible? Maybe you think like, well, maybe I've got a few things wrong about God, but broadly speaking, I'm right. There's a God, and maybe I have some things wrong about it, but okay, maybe that doesn't matter, but maybe it does. Like, what if it's important to your salvation that you have the right idea about God? Then what? So there's all these questions I have, But anyways, yeah, you believe in God. Okay.
God is real. I was actually just having a conversation with a coworker about this earlier today, that, atheism and faith, I guess particularly the Christian faith, both of them are actually positions of faith. We often...
No, they're not. Okay, so this is the tu quo qui fallacy. So if you, and so I might not be pronouncing that quite right, but I'm pretty sure I am. So let me bring it up. Just use Wikipedia; it's good enough, So tu quo qui. So it's you as well, or you also. It's an informal fallacy that says that they're just like you are. So you're a hypocrite. You have faith. We have faith. We both have faith. We're really in the same boat. And so, you're going to accuse me of faith. Well, you have faith. Ha 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 ha. So in fact, you have more faith than I do. So there you go. That will really show you. Of course, then I have to ask, is faith good or bad? If it's good, then having more would be good. If it's bad, then you should have as less as possible. But then that wouldn't lead to believing in your particular God, because that requires faith. Unlike skepticism, which requires no faith. I just, I hold things in judgment until it's been demonstrably proven that those things are true. So that requires no faith on my part whatsoever. And of course, then the question is, what do you mean by the word faith? Do you mean a dictionary definition of faith? Or do you mean a different version of faith? So if we go to just Google and we pull up what the word faith means according to Google's little dictionary here, it just says faith, complete trust or confidence in someone or something, and or strong belief in God or the doctrines of religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. So obviously 2 doesn't apply to the atheists. They don't believe in God. They have no doctrines. They have, well, maybe you have a religion, like maybe you're a Buddhist. But I'd say broadly speaking, most atheists don't have a religion. Most atheists, again, now, broadly speaking, maybe there's some that would have some spiritual thing. I don't. The ones I know don't. So, I mean, maybe there's a data out there that I can pull up if you want to that shows, how many atheists say that there's a spiritual aspect to them or whatever. So I would dare say that spiritual apprehension doesn't belong here. Rather than proof. Well, is there proof of not God? Now, that's an interesting way to put it. Well, yes, because whatever God is said to be, there is no evidence of that. That's the problem. Now, the religious say, no, there is proof, and then they give bad arguments because they don't have proof. They have philosophy. Okay, so it's not number 2. Could it be number 1? Complete trust or confidence in someone. Well, there's no someone because you don't believe in God. So it can't be that. Or something. Well, I don't believe in God. So is that complete trust that I don't believe in God? Well, I trust that I don't believe in it. Am I saying there's no God? Well, it depends on the God. But for Yahweh, for this guy's version of God, probably. Maybe he has a different version of Yahweh that I haven't heard about yet. But for most versions of Yahweh, I will say, no, that Yahweh doesn't exist. Do I have complete trust that Yahweh doesn't exist? Well, no, I have complete logic that Yahweh doesn't exist. I don't need to trust it because I have facts that lead to the conclusion that Yahweh doesn't exist. Now, maybe your version of Yahweh is different from the version of Yahweh than I've come to think of and been presented with. So maybe your version of Yahweh, I couldn't say that one didn't exist using logic. But the one that I'm familiar with, I can say. And so this doesn't apply, at least to me, and I don't think it applies to any other atheist. So based on that definition, no, we don't have faith at all, period. And if we did, and you did, then what? Is faith good or bad? If it, and again, that's just if it's bad, then you should be a skeptic. If it's good, then I'm fine because I have it. So what? But it doesn't have faith. So you're wrong. And, that's it. You're wrong. Okay.
Oftentimes think that just a religious position is a position of faith, and that atheism is totally all using your reason. It's a complete intellectual decision. And actually, I forget who I was listening to the other day, but this other person, a famous philosopher, I believe, was talking about how actually atheism is very rarely an intellectual assent. It's usually driven by a moral reason.
Okay, so appealing to a philosopher you can't even remember the name of is not a very decent argument. Who cares what somebody said? Is it true or not? So I said, remember I earlier said, I could try to find some sort of data to show that atheists have a spirituality or not. So until I do that, until I do that, which I won't unless somebody asks me in the comments, but until I do that, you should not believe what I have said in regards to that atheists probably don't have a spirituality, or at least most atheists don't, because that's based on my own personal subjective experience in dealing with atheists over the time that I've done this channel. So that's a small sample size. What we need is a larger data sample to pull from. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm right, but I would want to present the data to show that I'm right. So, does this philosopher bother to present some sort of data that confirms that he or she is right? And I know the answer is no. I just intuit that the answer is no to that, because why would they bother to give you the data? It's enough for them to just say it's true, and you go, oh, okay, well, you're the expert. You probably know. That's good enough. Now, maybe they did, but since you don't remember who it is, whatever. But definitely, for sure, you didn't present us that data. So forget about the philosopher saying whatever. Show us the data that shows that atheists choose or go to atheism because of morality more often than they do intellectual reasons. Give me the data that shows that. Now, I've seen data that, surveys atheists from time to time, and I'm going to give you some spoilers. You're not going to find data to support your idea, because it's actually intellectual reasons, not moral reasons. So this is a straw man. Unless and until you demonstrate that you're correct, well, I wouldn't even say it's a straw man. It's just an assertion, a bald assertion that you're making. You're just saying, atheists, they switched because of moral reasons. And even if that was true, which it isn't, I don't think, but go ahead, prove me wrong. It's your burden to prove that you're right, which you're not going to do. But anyways, even if it was the case, that doesn't make it wrong or right or anything at all. It's just an interesting note. It's like, oh, that's cool. That's interesting. But every atheist that I've interacted with has been intellectual reasons, not moral reasons. The moral reasons actually usually come later for most that I know of. So, yeah.
But that's a whole nother conversation. And so I genuinely believe that atheism, as much as Catholicism or any religion, is really an act of faith, because we can't totally know completely with full conclusive evidence that atheism is true or that Catholicism is true, right? There's
no. So if your definition of faith means you have to know that it's completely true with 0% doubt or whatever, then everyone has faith in everything, I guess, and then the word faith just becomes completely and utterly meaningless. Yeah, it's like, you exist. Well, how do you know I exist? Well, because of faith. Oh, okay. So how do we know that there's gravity? Faith. How do we know? Everything would just be faith at that point. So you've rendered the word absolutely, completely meaningless, if that's what you mean by faith. But what you do not appear to comprehend, understand, and or accept is that when I, as a skeptic / atheist, agnostic, atheist, etc., when I say, hey, I don't believe in God, that's usually what I say. I don't, unless I feel rather formal, I might say, and by the way, Yahweh doesn't exist, because that's the one that matters to you. It doesn't matter to you that I don't believe in other gods. You don't care. I could say there's no Shiva the Destroyer, there's no Allah, there's no I don't know what else is there. Those are the ones I know of offhand, right? Zeus. You wouldn't care. It doesn't matter to you if I say no, those gods don't exist. The Greek gods don't exist. The Roman gods don't exist. That wouldn't bother you a bit. You would probably agree with me. Yeah, those gods don't exist. Okay. Well, I could do that for every single God, but when I came to your God, then you're like, oh, hold on there. You've gone too far now. And there was a saying, and it perhaps got a little bit overused, but I think it's worth bringing up, that some atheists had popularized this saying that, atheism just goes one God further. That you and I are alike. You believe I just believe in one fewer God than you. You don't believe in all these other gods. I just believe in one God fewer than you do. But I don't know that it's not an argument point or anything. It's just to try to get you to understand that we are in a similar position in a way, but not regarding faith, but regarding that we both don't believe in a lot of other gods. It's just that your God that you believe in, I don't believe in that one. Now, I like to try to ask questions. And in case this guy watches my video, listens to what I said, which who knows if he does, would be to say, why don't you believe in those other gods? Is it intellectual? Is it moral? Or is it that the religious book said that those gods don't exist? Now, the reason I don't believe in those gods is intellectual. There's no reason to believe in those. They appear to be made up and fabricated by humans. They do absurd feats that just are impossible to me. There's just no proof that they're a thing. So what proof is there that you have a thing? Well, you could probably try to give reasons, but if they can give similar reasons to you, then who do we believe then? Your epistemology really matters here. The way to unravel what's true really matters here. And when you're just going to the lowest bar that you could, which is what you're doing here, and just saying, well, we both have faith, and besides, you just deconverted because of moral reasons. You just didn't like the church. You didn't like that they reject gays or whatever, that's really it. I figured you out for you. You don't have to explain anything to me. I think that's a really not a very good way to view it. Okay, every atheist is going to be different. Every believer is different as well. Your reasons for believing are going to be different from some other person's reasons for believing. And I don't know what those reasons are. Maybe you think they are intellectual. Maybe they're based on some experience. Maybe a combination thereof. Who knows? But I'm not going to make any assumptions. So what do I think of Catholics? Well, it depends which one you're talking about, because I don't like to do it that way. I don't like to try to, have a group of things that way. I do think that the church is evil and vile and needs to, go ahead and say Hitler was wrong and bad and excommunicate Hitler, because I don't think they ever did that. Yes, the Catholic Church was hooked up with Hitler for a while, way back in the day. There's some debate about that, I guess. But okay. And then, the whole pedophile thing, just go ahead and tell the authorities where those people are and give them up and, admit that you guys were wrong and that it shouldn't happen, and maybe rethink your whole priest thing and how you do that. Maybe you should let your priests get married so that they don't do that. Just an idea, But other than that, I don't really, that's what I think about. I'm way off topic. Okay, back to this.
Not full conclusive evidence. That's why it requires faith. However, both of them, particularly in my opinion, Catholicism, as well as I think you could say atheism from the atheist's perspective, are both positions of reasonable faith. I 100% believe that the way that I assent to my faith as a Catholic is not totally blindly. I don't just jump off a cliff with a blindfold on with no sort of reasons for believing. Instead, I believe that of the reasons that I have examined and through my experience and kind of seeing that it seems that everything sort of collectively comes together and doesn't contradict itself, I find that it's quite reasonable to give an assent of faith to Catholicism, to Jesus Christ and his church. Now, someone else may disagree with me, but again, that's a combination of both my experience, life experience, and the reasons, intellectual reasons, I think, for believing. Now, for atheism, you can say the same thing, that when it comes to atheism, it is often, at least from the atheist perspective, a reasonable intellectual pursuit. However, again, as I said, there's this sense that it does require faith. You can't totally prove atheism. You can't totally prove that God doesn't exist, which.
Well, okay, here's where it gets tricky. Proof means a very particular thing in my brain. So we're going to have to know what we each mean by proof. Okay, we're going to have to explain what we mean by that. All right, and to clear up misunderstandings. For me, in order for me to accept something is true, in other words, to have proof of it, I need one of the following things. I have three things that I need at least one of. One is empirical evidence, and or a repeatable test, and or a valid and sound argument. Now, if you have either of the first two, you don't need the third one at all. I'll take one or two. You don't need the third one if you have one or two. But if you have any of those, then I will think that it's true. The problem for religion is they offer arguments all the time. I've heard them. I've read them. I've analyzed them. Now, I cannot say that I've seen them all because I don't know how many there are out there. I have seen the ones that are used constantly, St. Aquinas' arguments, the Kalam, different versions of cosmological argument from contingency, the moral argument, the Jesus's empty tomb argument. I've seen all of those arguments, okay? Now, there are some arguments that I haven't seen, obviously. But the classical arguments that apologists usually tout out over and over again, if you do a YouTube search, you'll see these arguments over and over again. And it's frustrating as a content creator because you're like, I already talked about this. The look at the trees argument. I've heard that one. The design argument, I've seen many arguments, and every argument that I've looked at so far has had one or more logical fallacies. Now, the apologist and the theist, broadly speaking, have rejected that there's fallacies. They've said, no, I'm wrong. I didn't understand it. I didn't look at it in this way. They say, oh, no. Well, let's say that with the Kalam cosmological argument, which I have that video on my page featured right now because I don't think enough people have seen it. That one's been done to death. And they're like, oh, what William Lane Craig said, here's what this thing really means. I'm like, no, that it already failed. The moment, if you have to explain the premise of an argument more, it's failed. That means the argument's already failed. And they don't understand that because they haven't really learned informal logic and or formal logic. They might have learned it at one point way long ago, but they haven't continually gone back to study and keep their mind fresh about it. And maybe you're saying, oh, how do I know that? I don't know that. I could be wrong. But every interaction I've had with apologists and theists thus far has been like pulling teeth to get them to admit to one fallacy in these arguments. They don't want to do it. They won't do it for the most part. I got one to kind of admit once. And so I think that the reason for that is not that the arguments are valid and sound, because they aren't, but because of cognitive dissonance. They have to believe that the arguments are fine. And that's all they have. They only have philosophy. That's the realm they exist in. They don't have empirical evidence or repeatable tests. So because of that, it's more than likely that they can never have a valid and sound argument. Now, I don't know for sure. I call myself an amateur logician because I haven't been paid to do logic yet. Somebody pay me to do logic on my work. But I call myself that because I'm humble, or try to, well, at least about that. I'm not humble about how awesome and cool I am and how handsome I am. And by the way, I'm single, ladies, on my work. But for other things, I'm pretty humble, right? But when it comes to logic, I try to be humble. And I go, look, here's the fallacy, list it out, here's why, blah, blah, blah. And I did, and they go, no, it's not a fallacy. Or they go, well, no, that's that version. That's the wrong version of the argument. This is the real version. And I just go, oh, okay. Give me the version that you want me to analyze, and I'll analyze it, and I'll show you how that one's wrong. And then after I do that, they still go, no, you got it wrong. You didn't get it. And if you don't have proof, and by proof I mean empirical evidence, repeatable tests, it's probably unlikely that you won't have a valid and sound argument, because logic depends upon being able to interact with reality. So in logic, you can say either I exist or I'm a lobster. I'm not a lobster, therefore my light is on. And you can say, well, that argument sucks, because it does. It's full of fallacies. Bonus points if you can lay out there's a formal fallacy in there. There's informal fallacies in there. If you list them, you get lobster points in the comments. Okay. My light being on or off has absolutely nothing to do with the argument at all. So it's a non sequitur. But there's other fallacies as well. So in reality, my light happens to be on. I like my light being on. It stays on all day, all night next to me. It's the light that stays on so that the room is always lit. I like it that way because I don't like walking into a dark room. Okay. And don't worry, it's a low power light. It's that special light bulb, doesn't use that much power. Okay. Also, I leave on my computer, so if you want to complain about me leaving on stuff, whatever. But I run this thing that analyzes diseases and so. Anyways, I'm getting off topic again. That's what you come here for, is for some entertainment. So I try to sprinkle that in, right? Okay. But logically speaking, because the argument sucked, then you would have to be skeptical of my light being on or off. Which doesn't mean to doubt that it's on. You can say nothing about the light's true state. You'd say, I don't know, maybe it's on, maybe it's off, I don't know. But you need to fix that argument before I do anything about it. I am skeptical of the conclusion because your argument was flawed. Go fix your argument, come back when you've done it, try again. And then if they come back, either the light's on or off, it's not off, it's on, and well, you've still done something broken there. You need to fix it a bit more. It's not off or on. Yeah, it's like it's either off or on. It's not off, therefore it's on. Now you're getting somewhere, Okay, but at any rate, and maybe I said it the wrong way, correct me if I did. But that is... The fact is, the light being on or off is something that I have to verify in reality. The fact of that if I'm a lobster or not is something that I have to verify in reality. So then the question becomes, if I don't have empirical evidence and or a repeatable test, then what possible methodology would I utilize to discover that something is true? That is my epistemology. Whatever that answer is my epistemology. Can I apply the epistemology of philosophy, which just is, whatever philosopher you want, you pick and choose which philosopher agrees with you, and you say, there's no system there. There's no philosophy of philosophy. There's no system in philosophy except for, you could say science and you could say logic, but then you don't need philosophy once you start doing logic and science. Well, maybe you can use some philosophy. I don't want to get sidetracked too much, but my point is, I don't know that it's possible without having empirical evidence or repeatable tests to have a valid and sound argument. I don't think it is, but I don't know that it is. So it's on the table as maybe you will be the first human that comes up with a valid and sound argument where none of the things are things that you can prove empirically or with tests. I don't know that that's possible, but maybe you will figure it out. I doubt it, though. And the problem with God, from the atheist perspective, broadly speaking, maybe I'll just focus on myself rather than saying broadly speaking, is that no matter what the God claim is, there isn't evidence for it, empirical evidence, there isn't a repeatable test on it. What we have is the exact thing that we would suspect and expect to have if it was created by humans. We have it as a story, oral and or written down. We have traditions. We have establishments around it. And we have wide disagreement about it. We have people fighting and killing and dying over what they think is the case. In science, we see a convergence of agreement to one conclusion. In religion, we see a scattering of disagreement to every single possible thing that there could be. Until you guys and girls that are religious, and Catholicism perhaps has a better chance at it than Protestantism has, because supposedly they have a hierarchy that they have to follow, although they don't. There's splits in Catholicism as well. They actually have a chance to all say, this is the one truth, X, Y, and Z. That's it. And every Catholic agrees with that. Okay, great. At least you're all on the same page. Now you need to demonstrate and explain your epistemology. And we also need to see if it applies to other things other than just your belief in God. Can we use your epistemology on everything, or is it just, it works here but nowhere else? And if so, then that might raise some questions. But that methodology is something that would require a lot of explanation on your part. I look forward to your video on that you might not do. I'm not going to say he's not going to do it. Maybe he'll do it. I don't know. But I'm not going to hold my breath, okay? I've been disappointed too many times by Catholics. Look. That's not why I deconverted, though. If you want to know why I deconverted, you can buy my book, Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair, on Amazon. Yes, I advertise my own book. Okay, let's play the rest of it, see if there's any other thing I need to comment on, and then we'll go to chat, because why not? I feel like doing that, and then we'll end this, and that will be a thing that we end of deal. Okay.
I would say that's why most atheists are actually in the position of being agnostic. And I think many of them would sort of say that in one way or another. And so, yeah, what do I think about atheism? It comes down to the fact that I think that atheism is wrong, but I respect that there are those who think that it is reasonable, and that is why they're pursuing it. But I challenge them to consider maybe there's a deeper reason why they don't want God to exist, more so than just an intellectual reason. So yeah.
Oh, there's the zinger at the end there. So let me harp on that a moment, if I may. And even if I may not, I'm going to do it because it's my channel. All right. Isn't there a reason that you don't want God to exist? No. My desires, whatever they might be, are irrelevant to reality. Period. Let's just get that straight. Whatever it is I want doesn't matter in regards to reality. I want a girlfriend. I want a lot of money. I want to be fit, but I'm not any of those things. So, some of that and all of it I can work on and maybe get and obtain. And it takes effort and energy, and I'd rather just be handed it. But okay, you have to earn those things, right? Okay. But what I want is irrelevant to what reality is. I don't want there to be pain and suffering across the world and perhaps universe. Yet pain and suffering exist. If I had the ability to do so, I would make it so that people didn't suffer, and animals, and I'd make it so that suffering wasn't a thing somehow. If I had the powers to do that, I would. I don't have those powers. My desire is irrelevant to how reality works. I don't want to one day not exist if that's the state of reality after I stop being on the mortal coil. I don't know that that's what's going to happen. It seems that that's what it is. But I don't know for sure. And so I'll be surprised if there's more to it, I guess. But whatever I wish was the case doesn't matter. I don't not wish for there to be a God. I don't wish for there to be a God. I don't wish one way or the other. I don't care. Either there is or there isn't. For me, it'd be like, that's interesting. Okay, cool. And that would be that. It'd be an interesting bit of information that I now know. Of course, it would change how I do my channel, but, I have no desire one way or the other. But there are gods that I would dare say that all of us wouldn't want to be a god. We could say Hitler. What if Hitler was God? No, Hitler's not God. How do you know? What if it turned out that the reality of the universe was that after Hitler shot himself, he realized that he was God and was like, oh, I've been God this whole time and my mortal body is dead, but now I'm back to being God and now I can get back to running the universe. Mwahahaha. Would you worship Hitler? Would you want Hitler to be God? Would you be like, hey, look, can we vote God out? Would you want something else? Yeah, maybe you would want something else. Maybe you would work towards having something else. Maybe you would do everything in your power to get rid of that God. Maybe it's a completely hopeless battle, but you're going to try. But that's assuming that there is an actual God to try to destroy or take down or whatever, and that God is repugnant. And it's also assuming that we could actually do anything about it. Your desire is irrelevant to whatever reality actually is. You can hope for things to get better, but unless you work towards the goal of making them better, they will not get better. That hope will help you to continue to try to make things better, but the hope by itself isn't enough. I'm reminded of this church service where people were standing up thanking God, and this one guy stood up and said, I've been out of work for 9 years, been praying, and finally I got a job thanks to God. And I'm like, wow, God sure took his sweet time getting you a job. You didn't have a job for 9 years? What was God doing that whole time? And then, wait, was he looking for work for the 9 years? Or was he just praying for it? Like, So, he went and got a job. Or maybe he said something to somebody, hey, I really need a job. And they gave him one, right? But he did that. What part did God play in any of that? God healed my daughter. No, he didn't. The doctors did. The medicine did. Their body did. What part did God play in that? Really, honestly, what part did God play in that? Because it doesn't seem like God did anything at all there. So maybe you really want God to exist, but you want it because you believe in it. I don't believe in God. Do I want God to exist? No. Do I want God to not exist? No. I have no desire either way about that. And you can just not believe me if you want to. I'm being honest, sincere about it. I think that if there was a being that could do everything that there's possible to do and it cared about us, that would be interesting because reality would be completely different than it is right now. Everything would be different. And it's hard to even try to really imagine what that would be like. Because I try to put myself in that position. Okay, if I've been given God powers, now what? It's like, okay, you eliminate hunger, for one. You eliminate pain and suffering. You eliminate people getting sick. And then you have a problem. Well, now what are you going to do with the doctors and nurses? They're out of work. You go, well, maybe I'll eliminate the need for money. I mean, nobody needs money if everyone gets what they want. Okay, great. So everyone wants a house. It's like, well, what if two people want the same house? So you can give them duplicate houses. What if they want it in the same location? And then you run into problems at some point that you can't solve, even though you can do everything. Somebody somewhere at some level is not going to be completely satisfied. And then what about the challenge? People love challenges. It drives forward innovation, invention, and even people doing stuff. If nobody had anything to do, that would be boring. So you got to give people something to do, which means there has to be a challenge of some sort. So then you have to make things kind of hard sometimes. And then they're like, it's very, but it would be different than this world. Very different. And although I love to imagine that from time to time, I love using my imagination, it doesn't change what really is. And what really is we have a bunch of humans, a bunch of other creatures living on this small ball of rock. And whether there's a God or not, all it seems that we just have each other. We're the ones that have to pick each other up. We're the ones that have to decide not to punch each other down. We're the ones that have to come and figure out a way to not annihilate each other with how we live our lives, climate change, or nuclear holocaust, or whatever the bleep the next thing is. And that's very difficult for us to figure out. But each and every one of us is trying to figure that out. Hopefully. Maybe. At least to some degree. Whether or not you can actually do anything about it, that's another story. But each of us in our own little way try to make things hopefully a little bit better. Religion, however, can take that person that wants to be that way and tell them God wants you to go kill that other person. You don't want to do it, but if you're convinced that God said to do it, then you'll do it. Would an actual God want anyone to kill anyone else? I don't think so. But I could be wrong about what God actually is. And so could everybody else. Maybe there's a God, but maybe none of us know what the bleep it is yet. Maybe we haven't discovered it yet. Maybe God doesn't believe in us. Maybe we have to earn God's love. And when we earn it, we won't need it. Okay, there's my spiel. I'm going to read chat now and respond to things in chat. So, yeah, that will be a thing I do. So that guy, if he's listening to this video, he can stop the video now because nothing I say from here on out matters. Okay, at least to him. Okay, Dora Nuku says, good day, DM. Good day. I said hi. The only spirits that they believe in contain alcohol. I laughed at that. I don't know. You should probably leave a note in as Yule draws near. Hell and the Christian God might be the same after all. Different family, yes. Imagine being a Christian and not believing other gods exist, even when the Bible talks about God finding them. Yeah, it's weird, huh? How theology evolved. There's let us make him and well, that's the problem is of the Bible is it's a collection of different stories borrowed from other religions, like Genesis is. I don't remember where it's borrowed from, but it's borrowed from other mythologies at the same time that it was written. More than likely, I'm no expert on it, but God acts like there's other gods. He says, let us. Who's he talking to? He's talking to the angels? No, he's talking to other gods. And then God sort of changes. Like what God is and how God works changes. And then by the time you have Abraham introduced to the Bible, that's when the character Yahweh comes into the picture. Before then, I think it's a different God. I don't know that it's Yahweh. I don't think it is Yahweh. I think it's a different God or gods until then. But Yahweh then gets introduced. But Abraham's Yahweh is different from the Yahweh historically that we know about. We know Yahweh had a wife, Asherah. So Abraham doesn't mention her. What happened to her? Well, he didn't care about her. He wanted Yahweh. Now he says God made him his God. Like, because there's all these other gods to pick from. Well, why Yahweh? Yahweh's a war god. And so maybe Abraham wanted to go to war or was going to war and needed a God to rally his troops around. So that's why he picked Yahweh. If he was trying to get a good harvest, he would have picked a different God. Some people don't understand. Some people can't believe in anything that isn't dead skeleton taxonomized in a museum. Right. Yeah. Ancient books describing the existence of this sufficient evidence for some people and not evidence at all for others. True. The oldness of a book isn't really what matters. I think that if the Bible didn't say that Jesus walked on water, I'd have a little less problems believing in Jesus. If we read about Abraham Lincoln and he was like attacking zombies, I would start to doubt Abraham Lincoln's existence, But then you go, well, but that's because you doubt the supernatural. You go, yeah, because we kind of need a demonstrable demonstration that that's a thing. If this personality splits from 2,000 years, the human spirit Sailor Moon died and rose again to deliver us from the kingdom of darkness. Well, listen, say what you will, but Sailor Moon did die, and she came back after fighting Queen Beryl. And she did so, of course, with the Imperium Silver Crystal, as you know. And they all forgot, but their memories were brought back to them by the great goddesses Luna and Artemis. Hallowed be their name. Of course, then the sacred Shibi Moon, that kind of did cause a split because a lot of people didn't like her. And then Shibi was really confusing in the Star Saga. But, of course, the whole stars being men that transform into women was also kind of confusing. But, you have to understand Sailor Moon. Yeah, you didn't know I knew that much about Sailor Moon. Anyways, I don't get why they focus on atheists. Focus on believers that almost the same as Christians do. Jews, Muslims, some deity, and different doctrine. Well, yeah, well, they don't just focus on atheists. It's like, well, why do I only focus on Christians and Catholics? I would love to focus on more. It's just that they're the most popular. I think that I have seen this idea that it seems to be that the religious people have this idea. Maybe they don't. So, that everyone believes in God except for like 3% of the population of humanity. It's like, well, yeah, but everyone has a different idea of what God is. So, because the word God is the thing that's used in like every religion, like then it's easy to think that they're all on your team. And atheists are the ones that aren't on their team. So for the believer, they can understand that somebody believes in a different God. At least they believe in God. These people, they don't believe in God. And they don't know what to do with that. It messes with their brain. Okay. Yes. Let's go down. Let's see. Let's see. Anything? I'm skeptical. Oh, no! No, Nerdy Rodent. You've gone too far with your skepticism. Also, is that how you spell... I don't think that's how you spell that word. Okay, what can I do with lobster points? Is mining them worth my time? Absolutely. You know, the things that you can do with lobster points are amazing. I can't even begin to describe what you can do with them. But they've been known to help with all sorts of things. So, lobster coin to the moon. Conversion, do I need different optimizer? Yes. Let's see. A Catholic Christian God that created my mind must be the right one, right? Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Is there anything else? Let's see. Should I put up here? Why are we here? Just to suffer? Yeah, I don't know, man. If there was a God, it does seem like it put, like, in it it wanted humans. Like, why? Why did you do this to us? Yeah. You're from a table. You're all failing me right now. Oh no! Oh no! Yeah. Well, all right. Let's see. Oh wow, chat really got out of control while I wasn't looking at it. I'm just seeing if there's anything I need to respond to. This is a good comment. Yeah. Looks like we have to study the Sailor Moon. Right, exactly. Our true goddess is Sailor Moon. All right. Lobster coin new meta. Yeah. I wish I knew how to make those coins. I'd totally make a cryptocurrency that was a lobster coin and sell it. Yeah. Okay. Let's make the chat go too fast. Yeah. All right. So we got the end of chat. I guess there wasn't. There's a few things I responded to. Hey, look, YouTube for whatever reason I can't fathom will not display chat. Like sometimes it does. I don't know. I try. I set it to say display chat, but I don't know. There's a comment section when this video is a video. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and make a post in that comment section. Doesn't matter what the post is. Just some word, bunch of numbers. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Just post something. That way YouTube will like me. And I got to complain about one thing that's completely unrelated to anything else, but I need to complain to somebody, and you're all here, so I'm going to complain to you. There's this bot going around. And I hate this bot. It's been stalking me, and I'm sure maybe it's been stalking you. Let me know. It's these different profile names, like look at my profile, and I am naked on my profile, and things like this. And they keep responding to comments I've made all over YouTube. And it copies and pastes somebody else's comment as their comment. And it's like, naked picture on my profile, click here, and they're and then the thing that they say is something that somebody else has said, and it's like, okay, block them, report as spam. And it's the same website on their banner, their home banner. If you go to their profile, it's the same website. So it's all these bots are coming from the same website. It's like, block this website. I'm never going to go to that website. I'm not going to advertise that website. I'm not going to say its name. But I hate these bots, and I want them to die. Please die, bots. Anyways, so maybe you've had the same problem. Just report them, Maybe they'll go away. All right. Anyways, what is that? I don't know. Okay. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm gonna do something now. I don't know what. This was a thing I did. I wonder if the guy will listen to it and respond. Post what you think will happen in the comments below. Do you want God to not exist? Let me know in the comments below. Did you read my book yet? Post it if you did in the comments below. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, heart the video, share with your friends and family and dogs and cats and lobsters. And yeah, that's it. I guess I've run out. It's time to do the thing. Time to type in the words. Time to hit the button. I wonder if Dora Nuku is single. Probably not. I know my luck. I'm not going to get anywhere. Oh, God, I'm still on. I'm still live. Oh, shit. Hit the broadcast. Oh, no. No, I didn't say anything. Pretend I didn't say that.